On this episode of AV Week, we talk about Samsung having an issue with HDBaseT products, CEDIA sells off their Expo, and the dangers of vaporware. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
AV Week is brought to you by our fine group of underwriters, companies like Kramer Electronics, AV Beyond the Box, and by Chief Manufacturing, the global leader in commercial AV mounting solutions. This is AV Week, episode 284, recorded Friday, February 3rd, 2017. Alternative facts.
Ready.
AV Week.
Performing scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AV Week. AV Week. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. Good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're listening to this fabulous podcast, thank you for doing so, good whatever that is to you. With us to talk about said news and information, first and foremost, my buddy and pal and the co-host of AV Social, also works for AVI Systems, Miss Kelly Perkins. How are you, ma'am?
Wonderful. It's Friday.
It is Friday. It is Friday. And some of us are jumping on a plane sometime the next day or two or three to go to ISE. Kelly is not, though. So
unfortunately, no.
I hated to point that out, but somebody who is, a couple of them actually. First up is Mr. Tom Stimson from the Stimson Group. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. Also, another person who is jumping on a plane after her Atlanta Falcons beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, Miss Andrea Varone. How are you, ma'am?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Go Falcons.
Go Falcons. You know what? I shouldn't say 90%. There are people that just hate the Patriots, and so they're suddenly Falcons fans. So I'm a Bears fan. I've been out of it since the second week of the season. So last but not least, Brady Bruce from InFocus. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon. And my question is, why can't we do this Amsterdam thing in May or June when the weather's better?
I've heard that. You know what? I've been lucky. This is my third year. This is only my third year in Amsterdam, right, in ISE. All the 2 years previous have been pretty good. Pretty good. I've heard horror stories from manufacturer friends like you guys and folks like my PR friends over at Castor and some other places that there have been like years where there's been 3 or 4 inches of snow on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
So, knock on something, I've been pretty lucky. So, but yeah, a bunch of us are heading out there. You can check out our website, avnation.tv, for a bunch of stuff. We've got stuff going on. If you're going to ISE, we have a contest going called Find AVNation, hashtag Find AVNation. Again, go to the website. You can find all the information. I'm not going to waste these fabulous people's times with all that right now. So, first up and foremost, the interesting story. Let's just put it that way. And I mentioned the hashtag because this one starts out as a hashtag. This is from CE Pro. Granted, CE Pro and Julie Jacobson over there is typically a residential focused publication, but the folks over at Live Install, which is a Twitter handle and a group of folks that are typically out of the UK, posted something the other day about Samsung, and specifically about Samsung and HDBaseT. And let me read this to you. Quote, unquote, this update from Samsung at present seems to render all of the HDMI inputs on these TVs unable to connect or receive a picture from any device utilizing the HDBaseT chipset, which includes video matrices, extender kits, and splitters. That's a problem, especially if you do indeed use that. The article goes on to say, basically right now, as of yesterday, don't update your Samsung and turn off auto updates on this. Tom, I'm going to kick it off with you on this because you're a business consultant. You deal directly with integrators a lot. How do you deal with stuff like this, and how do you communicate this information to your clients if you are an integrator?
Well, that's knowing how to communicate is easy. What struck me as I'm reading this is I'm going, well, why in the world are we leaving auto update on anything that we installed? And then I get down into the article, and of course, Martin Ellis comments specifically on you should never leave auto update on. So, first of all, we have to start with the hindsight, what not to do. Part of the service you provide and the reason, your opportunity to sell a service agreement afterwards is because you're installing 60 products, 30 of which have firmware issues and 60 have software issues. And you have an opportunity to make that problem go away for the client. And the only reason we know this problem exists is probably because a lot of folks said, hey, it's a consumer product. You throw it in and don't worry about it. Walk away. So, now, I can say it is an opportunity to go back to everyone that you have installed something for that says Samsung on it and bring up this issue and politely offer to come in and take care of it for them and make sure it's not an issue, which is a chance to get deeper and wider into an organization and perhaps sell something. So I see it as an opportunity for integrators to interact with their customers, God forbid, in person, and maybe instead of just sending them a text saying, hey, your TV's not working, call me. I think it's an opportunity for us to do something. If manufacturers never screwed up, most of us wouldn't have careers.
So on that note, I'll bring Brady in because he's a manufacturer.
Thanks.
You like that transition?
Not my
I was actually looking at
not your product, not your. This is not an InFocus issue. But no, seriously, in all seriousness, Brady, from a manufacturer standpoint, not asking you to talk from Samsung's point of view, not asking you to put words in their mouth. But if something happened from an InFocus point of view, if something were to go wrong or we had an issue like this, how do you handle that?
Well, those things never happen in InFocus. But as a marketing guy, you have two choices. You can either stand up in front of a microphone and present alternative facts. I don't recommend that. Or you just own up to it, and you own up to it.
That didn't take long.
Yeah, there we go. No, look, the right thing to do is to get in front of the story, right? To own up to it and own up to it fully. And behind you, you need a team of people who are working on a fix. But you need to get in front of the story because you can't afford to have a story like that linger for too long. And look, manufacturers make mistakes. This is the sort of thing you hope gets caught in the QA cycle before you push the release out the door. But you know what? Sometimes you miss something. Something in the test matrix just wasn't aware of things like this. So you got to be honest about it. You got to get out front. And you tell your story before somebody else tells it for you.
No, that's a good point. That is a good point. Kelly, from your standpoint, Kelly is an integrator, so we'll pick on her for a little bit. How do you get this and convince, like Tom said, get in front of your customers, whether it's in person or getting a hold of them, whether it's a small install or it's a ginormous stadium like the new Viking Stadium?
I would say, let's be honest, this type of stuff happens all the time with manufacturers. I mean, there's a firmware update, there's a software update, which completely changes those weird little bugs you just told half of your designers and installers to fix. And you have to hit this button twice before you do this button in this order with 2 seconds in between. And so, I mean, it's not something new. I'm glad that Samsung is being transparent about it. They haven't had the best of luck with PR over the last year or so. So, I mean, I think they're learning a bit. So I think it's good that they got ahead of it and they were transparent. But I'm gonna circle back with what Tom said. Use it as an opportunity to get back into your client, as an excuse to stop back in and say hi and see if they're looking at expanding, see if they're looking at building anything new, just see if they're they need more service or support, or they need some upgrades. And that's how I'd handle it. But again, as an integrator, we work with so many different manufacturers with so many different SKUs that are changing constantly. So this isn't, this isn't anything new. I was laughing about the story prior to this because we just built, we're like in the final stages of building our learning center next door. And every monitor in there for the most part is Samsung. So we're like, okay, but they're transparent and they let us know about it. So that's first step,
Yeah, absolutely. Andrea, from your standpoint, and just take the overarching, because DSE deals with a lot of manufacturers, Samsung being one of them, Digital Signage Expo. How do you handle this from, not just the manufacturer standpoint, but the, an organization standpoint?
I was just thinking, I wish I had an integrator with me every time I updated my iPhone. No, it happens. I mean, it happens on site at our event where you see the blank screen of death and you see your exhibitors scrambling around to get their products up and running before the attendees come rushing through. So I just think it's very important, like you said, to stay connected with your integrators and get the help when you need it.
That actually is they're not a bad service either. We come up with 15 different new businesses today. Update your iPhone right in front of me. So. All right, this is weird. So this is the second residential story we'll talk about, but not really. We started a new show just for this thing. It's called Resi Week. It's done on a weekly basis. Actually, Matt had Vin Bruno on talking about the fact that CEDIA sold the CEDIA Expo. So CEDIA is the organization. CEDIA is to residential integrators as InfoComm is to commercial integrators. So let's start with that. They had a show. It's an expo typically done in the fall of every year. They sold off the rights to another organization, a company that does nothing but run shows. We're going to actually start with Andrea on this for this very reason, because AVNation does shows. CEDIA and Vin Bruno was very open and very honest, and we actually had Guy Feiner, one of the board members of CEDIA, on as well. Talking about this is something they've been talking about for I guess about a year now. They sold it to a company called Emerald. Emerald actually came to the CEDIA Expo last year when it was in Dallas. And according to CEDIA, they did so to concentrate on member services. We talked about ISE at the beginning of the show. CEDIA is still half owner of ISE. They're not selling that off to Emerald, strictly talking about the CEDIA Expo here. Andrea, from your standpoint, and as somebody who runs shows on a daily basis, how much time and effort, I guess is the best way to ask this, is CEDIA offloading by selling the actual show?
Quite a lot. I will say I see pluses and minuses to both of this. One of the things that we're envious of, because we're a for-profit show organizing company.
Yeah.
We're envious of InfoComm and CEDIA in that their membership has been around for decades and therefore their attendance is sky high. They have a built-in brand because of that. On the flip side of that, they don't have the time and resources that we do as strictly a show organizer to put this off, because you'd be surprised how much goes into planning a conference, a trade show floor. It's a year-round project. So I honestly see both sides of this. I think it could be a good thing. Emerald is a massive company. They're probably one of the largest trade show organizers. So I think CEDIA has a lot to gain, but there are two ways to look at it.
All right. So here's where the AVNation, the AVWeek part comes in, and where I see the commercial side of this question. And it's this, and Tom, I'm going to start with you on this simply because you've been in somewhat of InfoComm leadership. My first question that popped in my head is, when does InfoComm do this, right? Or does InfoComm do this? And how does that look if they do?
Well, first of all, I think I can safely say, and I can't speak on behalf of InfoComm, but they would never do this. There's a good reason. InfoComm, when I was on the board is when we bought the NSCA, the rights to the NSCA show from NSCA. So basically, CEDIA is doing the same thing NSCA did, is they're offloading something that took a lot of their time and energy to focus more on their members. The difference is that NSCA sold us their show and we just absorbed it and killed the brand. InfoComm did. So, CEDIA
I wouldn't say killed the brand.
Killed the Expo brand, not the NSCA brand. We did not buy the association, right? So the association is still very much intact. And if CEDIA does what they're saying, they'll do what NSCA has done, which is really expanded their service offerings for the business owners. And they really have had a resurgence in membership and how they do that from my perspective. So I think it benefited NSCA. It will probably benefit CEDIA. InfoComm would not do this because InfoComm knows that it has to be the expo leader because that's where 75% of its income comes from. And that's why they've got like 11 shows around the world, and that's how they grow their membership base. To Andrea's point, you need a nonprofit involved, in over your expo to really draw in the big numbers. So the two really go together. InfoComm has chosen to be really good at running expos and devoted the people to do that in addition to hiring people to do membership and benefits.
Very good. Kelly from and you piped up about the fact that they, InfoComm purchased the NSC Expo and for a few years they were on the show floor with InfoComm, kind of not co-located, but they were on the show floor. From an integrator standpoint, does it matter who owns the expo that you go to?
I have no idea. Honestly, I don't. When InfoComm absorbed the NSCA show, it was before my time. You guys always hear those jokes about how InfoComm is a trade show company, or a trade show organization, not necessarily an AV or collaboration or communications association. I don't know what truth there is to that, to be honest. I know they focus quite a bit on standards and learning, et cetera, et cetera. So if they got rid of the show, could they do more of that stuff? I think it would be awesome if they focused more on training and learning and certifications and standards. But again, where does that cash flow come from? So I suppose I don't want to say it's a necessary evil, but it is to an extent. And I love InfoComm, so I'm not saying anything negative here nor there, but it's just kind of finding that balance of what type of values can you bring to your integrators, your manufacturers, your consultants, your end user customers, where they're getting the most bang for their buck and they're actually, serving us as an association and as kind of a leader in our industry and in the future. So whether that's an event, whether that's learning, whatever that is, I think I don't know.
No, you do know. You said you were very well. And I think to your point and kind of to Tom's point is if InfoComm's revenue it comes from 75% of the expos and the expositions, then they're doing some really good work with that money. And so the question is, if they did sell it off, would they have that revenue, to do the good work? And that is the question.
I think it makes sense for the membership organizations to put on the shows themselves because they have their finger on the pulse of the industry, right? Through their relationships with the manufacturers, with the integrators, and the end users, they're able to keep those shows relevant. And I sort of wonder if a professional trade show organization, right, who is not in fact the membership organization that represents manufacturers and integrators and end users, if they understand enough about the space to keep that show relevant in the long run.
Well, let me actually take a little bit side point here, because Andrea is that person, right? And I've ran into Andrea, good Lord, the last 3 or 4 years now. One of the places I typically run into her is New York Digital Signage Week. And obviously the reason she goes is because her customers are there, right? Her clients are there. But Andrea, to Brady's point, how much work is it for you guys as Expo Nation to keep current, to keep connected with not just your clients, but also with the industry?
A major part of my job as show director for DSE is getting out there and attending InfoComm, attending ISE, attending New York Digital Signage Week to be in front of all of you, the manufacturers, the integrators, the end users, to learn about the organization. That's a big part of my job. And also we work very closely with Digital Signage Federation, which is our association, but it's about 5 years young as opposed to InfoComm and CEDIA, who have been around for decades. So we're kind of a flailing, growing industry. So we're having to play a lot of catch up, but it's a huge part of my job is staying in touch with the industry.
No, absolutely. All
And
right.
can I
Go ahead.
add something? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think I see both sides of it. I see, where you could say, they just don't have their pulse and their fingers on it. And I can see Andrea's point of view too, where, she's saying, that's why you attend and that's why you research and keep in touch and network and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think people, and I'm not saying any of you guys and definitely not you, Andrea, but I don't think people realize how hard it is to put on events.
Oh, yeah.
And how much work and how much effort and how it's absolutely insane to me. I mean, we do events with AVI Systems and we have, manufacturers come, we have Tim, we have media people, we have keynote speakers, we do all this stuff. And I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah, I have 2 full-time people right now that are just doing events within AVI. So it's like, I see that side of it too. And I understand that, and frankly, a lot of them are worth it if you do it well. But I think we have to keep that piece in mind too. If I could hire somebody to do our events for us, to do like the logistical, have at it.
Okay, so I'm gonna connect you with Andrea.
There you go.
In all seriousness, and
It is.
I love hanging out with the AVI Systems folks, and we do 2 or 3, 4 times a year we get to hang out with them. But you're right, Kelly. You guys do several different smaller ones. Now, is it the level of DSE? Is it the level of ISE for crying out loud? No. But for you guys and for an integrator that you're trying to create local experiences for your clients, yeah, I mean it's a lot of work. But to Brady's point, it's also your business, right? It's also your industry. It's all you guys are very well connected in that aspect. All right, last story here, and I'll let you guys get out of here because some of us still have to pack for ISC. I'm not pointing any fingers but at myself. Mersive, and this is going to come out next week as well. And Mersive, if you're not familiar with the gang over there, and Chris Janes is smart as all. Holy cow, one of the smartest guys that I know as far as technology and stuff. They have had a wireless presentation system for quite some time. Pretty robust system. I'm aware of a couple of installations that I helped do at some law offices here in the Midwest and also on the East Coast. But they've pretty much been point to point, right? You walk into the room, you've got the thing with the connection, the wireless connection. Now they've got a multi-room. Now, I have not seen this in person. I will be the first to say that right up. We will see a presentation of it, I'm certain, in Amsterdam next week. If you go to InfoComm, I am certain you will see one there. But Tom, I'm going to start with you on this. When it comes to this specific product, but also products like this, and the fact that we continue to have the conversation about security in the AV industry and security on the network, and that's what this product is. It's running on the network. Does a product like this make sense at this stage of the game when we are still trying to wrap our head around how to keep our stuff safe?
Yeah, I mean, a product like this always makes sense, and from my perspective, and I love Mersive. I mean, that's one of the few products that I kind of keep up with, and that's one of the few booths I'll sit down and talk to the founder about. It's all about making meetings easy to join and easy to participate in. And anything that makes it easy to join meetings is a good thing for all of us, good for the industry, good for SI. We need this sort of product. The security issues that we're all facing, again, it's getting on the right platform. Now, I don't know how Solstice addresses security issues. I'm certainly not an expert on that. But I get really excited when I read this going, they found yet another way to be one step ahead of the communication curve, and they're solving the next problem. We're dealing with whatever problems are in front of us now. Mersive is always solving the next problem, which has made it hard for them because we're AV guys. We're in the moment. We're either 5 years behind or we're right now. Mersive has always been 3 years ahead of us. So it makes it hard to get traction and get, the market share. But I think we're getting smarter. So the Mersives of the world are going to be, are the ones that are going to benefit from it.
All right. Brady, from your standpoint, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I wouldn't consider Solstice a competitor to InFocus. I could be totally off base there, but InFocus is display manufacturer. You guys got a lot of, you do have collaboration, but you guys are kind of different sides of the same coin. When it comes to shows like ISE and shows like InfoComm, do you guys kind of wrap your I guess release dates is the best way to ask this, or your production schedules or your R&D around shows like ISE, around shows like InfoComm, so you can get the biggest bang for your buck and get folks excited about what you have coming down the pipeline?
Well, first I want to point out that we're all about the collaboration, right? So from the Mondo pads, which are about multi-point communications and seeing and hearing each other, the video conferencing aspect, plus the annotation and the presentation aspect where we can draw on top of things in real time, and do scenario planning. That's at our core, and it's what the Canvas products are that came in with the Jupiter acquisition, and the Connex video conferencing products. To the second question, do we schedule product releases around trade shows? No. But as a marketing guy, I'm always in front of my engineering and product management team saying, guys, we have a show coming up in 3 months. It'd be great to have a new announcement. Can you rush that project a little faster? Things like ISE and InfoComm are unique platforms for launching messages, and we love to take advantage of those. The press is concentrated there. It's a great time to give your good news. So while we don't schedule product releases to those events, we do work when we're close to getting a product ready. Say, can we please get this ready? My typical rule is I don't like to announce products that we're not going to be able to ship within 45 days. Right?
God love you.
I don't like to overhang markets. I used to say 30. I've relented a little bit. But I don't like to overhang the market with vaporware. It doesn't feel right. It also retards the sale of current products as people decide to hang back and wait. I really dislike it when my competitors do that. So just as a matter of good hygiene, my basic rule is I'm not going to announce a product that I can't ship within 45 days.
Well, and here's the thing, and not that I appreciate you saying that, because that's actually when we started AVNation, my first trade show, we started doing interviews. That was one of my first questions, and I kind of got known for asking that, because I would ask, when does this ship? When can the integrators, the folks that listen to us and watch us, when can they get this in their hands?
Yeah.
I was getting answers anywhere from 6 months to next year, right? I'm not kidding. I'm not
good.
No,
not good.
It's not. And it is vaporware. I mean, vaporware started, good Lord, Comdex, right? When, 100 years ago, in the computer and the tech industry, where they would show some fancy schmancy great thing. And then eventually it got to the point where, well, we're not shipping it. This is a concept, right? The idea of a concept product came out, and that's as detrimental as vaporware, right? Because then you're right, it does kind of scale back on the current sales. So
Now, save the science fair projects for the science fair, right?
Amen, brother.
Yeah. All
right, Kelly, from your standpoint, I asked Tom about the security of products like this, and AVI Systems you guys have got a couple of interesting networking products that you offer your clients. How do you educate your clients on not just the issue of security and keeping their network safe, because they know that, right? They get that, they vet products, but how do you educate them on what you guys can do as an integrator to help them keep their stuff safe?
Well, don't get me wrong. I love the Solstice. I think it's super cool. Like Mersive, this is really neat, and I think it's great for rooms. I'm curious to see, and I'm going a little off topic here, but I'll talk about the security stuff. But I'm curious to see how it's going to work in an enterprise environment, right? So it's great for a room, and I've done videos with it and I fooled around with it and whatnot, but I'm curious to see where it fits into an enterprise environment, because I feel like in a large environment, everyone is kind of moving to Cisco or Microsoft or this or that. And I guess I don't entirely see how Microsoft Solstice fits into that. But as far as security reasons go, I mean, it depends on the company. I mean, when we're working with classified government agencies, that's very different than working with, a school down the street or something. So I think we take it as it comes, whether it's on their network or whether we have a cloud network that's secure. I think it's just a case by case basis.
All right, very good. All right, Andrea, last word on this, and I'll kind of bring in Brady's, talking with Brady's and his release schedule. But when you have folks that are coming to Digital Signage Expo, right? Or when they're looking at your show, what is the best advice you would give them when it comes to to Brady's point, making sure that your products are ready to roll out either when you get there or shortly thereafter?
Our show is really unique in that we're very laser focused on one technology, digital signage. So 99% of our attendees are coming there specifically to learn about digital signage products. So I think you're foolish if you're investing in the show as a vendor not to really show everything you've got and the latest and greatest, because the booth next to you is going to be showing their latest and greatest. And you've got this little audience, this very laser focused audience, and you'd really be missing out, I think, on a return on your investment by not doing that. So we try to encourage that with our exhibitors as much as possible, and to even give teasers right before the show. Why should somebody get on a plane and come to DSE? Well, guess what? Planar is announcing a brand new video wall, which they did last year. So we highly encourage it.
I'm going to have Brady and Andrea on every single show when we're rolling up to a trade show. Just want to put that out there. So
there you go.
You both are invited back, right before we go to DSC and right before we go to InfoComm and all that jazz, because people need to listen to you. All right. Seriously, that's like a pet peeve. Like you walk into it, anyhow, don't want to go.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. I thank you so much. Kelly, we'll start with you because you're the only one not pecking and leaving on a plane. So Kelly Perkins, AVI Systems, is sad face, but she gets to stay in the States next week. How can people find you, ma'am?
AVIsystems.com or at AVI_Kelly on Twitter.
All right, very good. Mr. Tom Stimson, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
How do people find you and get a hold of your smarts if they need them?
They find me surly, but they can find my email at trstimson.com or av-matters.com.
All right, very good. And his website, he's got. Tell you what, Tom, and I'm not sound like saying this because Tom's here, but I subscribe to his newsletter. You should too. He's got some really good business tips and stuff that I still learn from. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Miss Andrea Verone, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, we are at digitalsignageexpo.net. If you're an integrator trying to break into digital signage, come to the website, register for the show. It's March 28th through 30th in Vegas. Hope to see you guys there. And also I'm at Andrea Verone on Twitter.
All right, very good. And last but not least, Brady Bruce, my buddy from InFocus. Thank you, sir.
You betcha. I'd like to congratulate, by the way, Andrea, on scheduling the show in Vegas in March. Thank you so much. It beats the heck out of InfoComm in June in Vegas. Yeah. You can find InFocus at InFocus.com, and there are links to our various social media properties from there. We maintain active communities on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And if you need to reach the CMO, that's me, and that's brady.bruce@infocus.com.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me at this point. I'm bemoaning the fact that the Bears are not playing in the Super Bowl, but congratulations to Andrea's Falcons. But go by the website, if you would, please, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. You'll find this program, a host of others. I mentioned our residential show, weekly look at the residential part of AV. It's called AVWeek. Kelly's show, AV Social, looks at social media and marketing for the AV community. All sorts of other ones as well. And we are going to ISE, we mentioned a couple times, so check that out. There's a special ISE page. If you are attending ISE, we have a short, small little contest called Find AVNation, hashtag Find AVNation. There's a number of stands that you can go by, take pictures, put them on social media, and we will pick a winner. Grand prize is a bunch of stuff, including a special AVNation button-down shirt. You can be on one of these podcasts and a whole bunch of other stuff. So all that stuff is at the website, AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. This has been AVWeek.
Week.